Man in the Woods Who Knew My Name by Tyler from Oregon. My name is Tyler, and this happened to me about 4 years ago. I'm from a small town in Oregon, and ever since I was a kid, I've loved being in the woods, hiking, camping, fishing, any excuse to get away from city noise and people. That particular summer, I was dealing with a lot. My dad had just passed away unexpectedly, and I needed some space. I took a week off from work and decided to go camping alone in Mount Hood National Forest. I had done solo trips before, so I wasn't worried. I knew how to handle myself in the woods. I packed my gear, my journal, and a few books, and drove out early on a Thursday morning. I took a trail that wasn't too popular, nothing dangerous, just less trafficked. I hiked in about 6 miles and found a perfect clearing not far from a small stream. Felt peaceful, isolated but not eerie. Not yet. I set up my tent, made a small fire pit, and got comfortable. The first day was uneventful. I made some instant noodles, wrote in my journal, and went to sleep early. That night, around 2 a.m., I woke up to a sound. It wasn't an animal. It was a voice. At first, I thought I was dreaming, but I sat up in my sleeping bag, and sure enough, there was a man's voice off in the woods. He wasn't yelling. It was more like talking or mumbling. I couldn't make out the words, and I couldn't tell where exactly it was coming from. I grabbed my flashlight, unzipped my tent just enough to peek out, but I didn't see anything. The forest was completely still. My fire had died down to glowing embers. I waited, heart pounding, but the voice had stopped. I chalked it up to being half asleep, zipped my tent shut again, and eventually went back to sleep. The next day, everything felt normal again. I went for a short hike, gathered some more wood, and read for most of the afternoon. But I couldn't stop thinking about the voice. I even said out loud a couple times, "Hey, anyone out there last night?" Nothing. That second night, I went to sleep a little more alert, if that makes sense. I kept my flashlight next to me, and I left the fire burning a little longer. Around 1:30 a.m., I heard it again, but this time it was closer. Same low, mumbling voice, but now I could make out certain words. I stayed perfectly still, trying to listen without making a sound. And that's when I heard it.
Tyler.
My blood ran cold. He said my name, clear as day. Then again, louder.
Tyler.
It didn't sound angry. It didn't even sound aggressive. It sounded curious, like someone was looking for me or studying me. I stayed frozen in my tent, clutching my flashlight, too afraid to turn it on. The voice went on for maybe another 30 seconds. Then silence. The rest of the night, I didn't sleep. I just laid there, heart pounding, listening to every little crack of the branches or rustle of leaves. When morning came, I got out and did a full circle of my camp. Nothing. No tracks. No signs of anyone nearby. I was starting to freak myself out. I tried convincing myself it was a hunter or another camper. Maybe someone playing a prank, somehow. But there was one problem. No one knew I was out there. Not my coworkers. Not even my mom. I hadn't told anyone exactly where I was going. Just a trip to Mt. Hood. I should have left that day. I know that now, but I was stubborn, and I didn't want to believe something was wrong. I convinced myself I was being paranoid. That night was the last night I stayed. I built up a huge fire. I even kept my pocket knife on me, just in case. Around 1:45 a.m., I started hearing it again. The voice, only this time, It wasn't out in the woods. It was right outside my tent.
Tyler, come out.
I didn't move. I didn't breathe. Then I heard footsteps. Slow, deliberate, walking around my tent.
I see you, Tyler.
I snapped. I unzipped the tent in one motion, flashlight in one hand, knife in the other, and shined the light outside. Nothing. I whipped it around the clearing. Nothing. The forest was dead silent. I didn't sleep the rest of the night. As soon as the sun came up, I packed my gear in record time and booked it down the trail, practically running the whole way. I didn't stop until I was back at my car. I never went back to that area again. To this day, I have no idea who that was, how they knew my name, how they found me in the middle of nowhere. But I can still hear the voice, even now.
I see you, Tyler.
My name is Jennifer Alvarez, and I'm from Flagstaff, Arizona. This happened in August 2021, less than 2 years ago, and I still have dreams about it. Nightmares, actually. I submitted this story because I can't keep pretending it was just a bad night. Something was out there, something wrong. It was supposed to be a relaxing weekend. My boyfriend Mark and I both love camping, and since we live right by the Coconino National Forest, we usually take 1 or 2 trips every summer. But this time we invited another couple, our friends Darius and Kelsey, to come along. We planned to camp at a less-known area called Deer Hollow, a quiet forested clearing surrounded by pine trees. It's rarely busy, and we thought that meant more privacy. But it also meant less help if something went wrong. We arrived Friday evening, set up our tents, and started a fire. I remember it being one of those perfect summer nights. Cool breeze, no bugs, stars so bright you didn't even need a flashlight to walk around. We joked, drank a little, made s'mores. Nothing felt off. Not yet. We were all asleep by around 1 a.m. in separate tents about 10 feet apart. Mark and I were in ours, and Darius and Kelsey had theirs nearby. Everything was dead silent, until I heard crunching outside. First, I thought it was just deer. Happens all the time in Flagstaff. But the crunches were slow, heavy, and deliberate, like someone crawling through dry leaves. Not walking, crawling. Mark stirred next to me and whispered, "You hear that?" I nodded. "It's close." And then we heard whispers. Not from Darius or Kelsey. Not from a campsite. Just out there. Faint. Unnatural. It was like 2 or 3 voices whispering over each other. Fast, garbled, overlapping, and too low to understand. But the way they said it didn't sound like conversation. It sounded like chanting. Mark unzipped the tent just slightly and looked out. Then he pulled back quickly, whispering, "There's someone out there, but they're on all fours." I peeked too. About 20 feet from our tent, in the trees was a person or something shaped like one, crawling. But not like a soldier or hiker. It was fast, twitchy, and unnatural, jerking between trees like a spider but with human limbs. And it wasn't alone. 2 others stood further behind it, tall and still, watching. Suddenly, a scream cut through the woods. Kelsey. We bolted out of our tent and ran toward theirs. Darius had already jumped out with a flashlight, yelling, "What the hell was that?" Kelsey was crying, sitting up in the tent, pointing to the mesh window. She said, "Something was crawling toward me. It was saying my name, over and over. It said,
Kelsey, Kelsey, come outside.
like it knew me. She swore it had no eyes and a mouth that didn't move in sync with the voice. We all stood there, stunned, trying to listen. And then we heard it, from the trees, in a slow, broken whisper.
Kelsey, Kelsey.
Mark swept his flashlight around and caught a glimpse. A pale face ducking behind a tree, with black veins running across its skin like it had been burned or diseased. Darius shouted, "Hey, get out of here," and threw a rock. We heard it hit something, followed by a guttural groan, like a man choking. Then everything went silent. We didn't go back in the tents. We sat by the fire until sunrise, weapons in hand, pocket knives, a hatchet, even a sharpened marshmallow skewer. Mark tried calling the ranger station, but we had no signal. None of US did. When the sun finally came up, we packed up everything and started hiking back toward the parking area, about a 2-mile walk. And that's when we saw something that still haunts me. About halfway down the trail, we found a small pile of rocks stacked in a strange spiral shape, like some kind of marker or ritual symbol. And on top of it was Mark's flashlight, the one we used the night before. We all stopped. No one had placed it there. We hadn't even walked this way during the night. Mark picked it up and turned it on, but it didn't work. The batteries were melted. We finally reached the car and sped back to town, not talking much, just trying to process what we saw. When we got home, we agreed to never go back to Deer Hollow. Later, Darius told us something weird. He looked up the area and found a string of disappearances from hikers in that exact forest, specifically within a 2-mile radius of where we camped. It wasn't on the main news, just buried in forums and archived police reports. Some people never made it back. Others were found, but didn't remember how they got lost. And one entry really stuck out. It was from a woman who claimed her daughter disappeared after camping near Deer Hollow in 1999. She said her daughter told her, "The forest has voices. It tells you to leave or join." That's exactly what Kelsey heard that night. We haven't gone camping since, and we've all agreed not to talk about it much, like ignoring it will keep it from finding us again.